have the adoption of the agenda. I need a motion, please.
Madam Chair, make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Been moved in second.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Venable. Motion passed.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from December 20th, 21, regular board meeting, and our special call meeting conducted January 5th, 2022.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adopt the minutes for the meeting. The minutes for the meeting of December 20th, 21, and January 5th, 2022.
Second.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
I got a question about was Venable not at the December 20th meeting?
he came later.
Okay, 'cause it just says he wasn't present on these notes.
He wasn't present at the beginning, but if you go down in the minutes, he was present closer to the end.
I get you.
This is not in person.
Well, it just at the end, it just says I wasn't, because I wasn't present. But that's on item 9 and 10. That's fine.
Okay, so,
And I'd like to make it a change to it that shows that he did attend the meeting. It doesn't really state that. It just kind of flips my name to not being here, which I wasn't.
Which meeting is that?
December 20th.
20th meeting.
on the minutes for December the 20th,
I'd like to make it note that he was at the meeting at some point. It just doesn't,
It does at the top.
It's in the meeting, it says that he was in favor. Item 10, his name's on it.
And if we look at the top, it says
okay,
Commissioner
sounds good.
President.
No, that's good. I'm good. All right, I'm good with that. So yes. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Venable, motion passed.
Do we have any public input?
Yes, ma'am. We have one person for public input. Her name is Miss Valerie Samuel, and she is from the Meadow Lake Youth League.
Valerie Samuel.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Ms. Samuel, you can speak.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Ms. Samuel, you can speak.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Valerie Samuel. I'm the Vice President of Meadow Lake Baseball, and I just had 2 issues I want to address. We have 4 parks that's in 5-mile radius of each other. We have Meadow Lake, Greenview, Higher Park, and Irwell Park. And none of them are equipped to host a baseball all-star host there. We can't host an all-star team there because none of them are equipped for that. And they're all there together. We don't have any bullpens. And for y'all that don't know what a bullpen is, a bullpen is where you take a picture and put them in there to warm up in order to get ready to go out on the field. None of the parks are equipped for us to host that in this particular community. My second point is that every year from June to July, all 85% of the gyms are closed to camps. And as we know, in between that time that the youth is out of school, crime goes up. And they don't have anywhere to go. The gyms are closed from kids that's from 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. They cannot get in any of the gyms because they're running camps in 85% of the gyms. Not just in Richland County, in Lexington County also, because I have an AAU team. And so I know we can't get in there at all. The public can't even get in the gym. And so I want to know how we're going to address the issue for the youth in the summertime, that they don't have access to the gym, and that these parks need to be brought up to par where we can host a lot of different events for baseball and stuff. We can't because they're not up to par. Hello?
Yes, Ms. Samuels, would you name the parks again, please, the five?
The parks are Greenview. The parks are Greenview. Hello?
Yes, it's a
The parks are Greenview, Meadow Lake, Earlville Park, and Higher Park. Hello?
Yes,
She said Earlwood.
yes.
Parks, Earlwood, and Hyatt Park, Columbia Parks.
Yes, sir.
Well, they're all in the same district. They're all not up to par. None of them. Where Earlwood and Meadow Lakes are in the same district, and they are not up to par neither.
For Ms. Samuels,
I believe that Meadow Lake is an RCRC park, but I believe Earlwood is a city of Columbia Park. And I'm just saying that I think that we probably do something about Meadow Lake, but Earlwood and Hyatt Park would be out of our jurisdiction.
and Greenview.
Okay, well, Meadow Lakes is where I'm the vice president.
Greenview Park.
Okay, so I have came and met many times. Matter of fact, I just had a meeting last week there on the same issues of bringing the park up to par. You know, I just met with them. We just signed a contract with them about the dugouts. How full the ducks out when it rains, how the drainage is bad because it's all down here. We don't have the proper drainage. The ducks out are full of water when we get ready to play baseball when it rains. We don't have a bullpen there to warm up a pitcher. And we only have one pen in order for the batters to warm up. And we have we have 3 fields there. We have 3 fields there. And we never can host anything. Everything we have to go to West Columbia for.
I think we definitely need to look into doing something about that because I think baseball is a great sport for kids in Meadow Lake to have access to.
Yes, and I've been out there over 10 years. Well, what about the gyms? What about the gym being closed every summer from June to July?
Ms. Valerie, we will work with our staff, the site supervisor at the facility, as well as individuals from the community to identify what is the best use for availability for our teenagers, because you're absolutely correct. Our camps do start with the elementary group, but we definitely need to take a step back and look and see what we can do for our teens in the summer.
Yes, for the older kids. Yeah, for the older kids. Yeah, because we need to have them involved in something. And then you know what area we're talking about, so we need to give back a little bit, and then we can maybe get them involved even with the camps, being big brothers, being big sisters to the younger kids. Maybe open up the door that way to get some more younger kids off the streets.
Yes, ma'am, I will definitely take all of your recommendations to heart, and I'll do a follow-up phone call. I think that your information has been made available when you signed up, and I'll follow with you this week.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for your support of recreation in the Meadow Lake community.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, Donzetta, just want to let you know Ashley Miller is on the call. She just texted and went and told them, so she is on.
Ashley,
Ashley.
she's on the call now?
Yeah, I'm just saying she's on as a member, board member.
Okay, as long as she says, didn't she say she was present when we asked? No, she was not present at that time, but she is present now.
Well, she was just on as a different, they didn't see her.
Okay, she can see us now, right?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We'll have to, Ashley Miller is on the call. Do we have anybody else signed up for input?
No, ma'am, that is it.
Okay, I'm asking that someone from the staff please contact Ms. Samuels regarding the park situation. And also maybe tell her, the city parks, if we know who to contact during the city parks, that we give her a reference to contact the city parks so they can do their part also. Next we'll have the financial report. Our CFO Ryan Zenza will be joining us via Zoom. You should have the reports and balance sheet before you in your packet, Madam Chair.
Good evening to Chair Lindsay and members of the Commission Board. I'd like to begin tonight by providing you with an update on the General and Enterprise Fund financials for the period July 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Total revenues for the General Fund for the 6-month period was $2.85 million compared to $2.4 million around this time last year. This represents a $442,000 increase in revenues, or approximately 18.4% increase. As in previous periods, program revenue was the largest driver for this increase, since there was a COVID-related decrease in program revenue in early fiscal year 21. The categories of program revenue with the greatest increase are parks and rental revenue. There was a $108,000 increase. Recreational youth camp revenue, there was an $84,000 increase. And athletic and recreational revenues, there was a $50,000 increase. Total general fund expenditures for this period were $6.95 million compared to $6.3 million around this time last year. Represents approximately 10.3% increase from this time last year, or $647,000. The biggest driver for this increase would be capital improvement expenditures and programming expenditures that are related to the programming revenues that were generated.
I'd like to know about these capital improvement expenses. They look pretty excessive to me.
I can provide a list of the projects. Some of these projects that we incurred expenses were projects that were initiated in fiscal year 21 and carried into fiscal year 22, which includes the Friars Gate project and Polo were two of the larger ones, but I would be happy to provide a breakdown of those expenditures.
Break down Friars Gate.
I think that.
Sure, I can put together a report and I don't have the data in front of me right now, but I will put together a report and the transaction level detail and I can provide that to members of the board.
Okay, that's pretty expensive to me. That's why I need to see what's actually in that.
Sure thing, I would be happy to provide that report.
You didn't come prepared?
There's a lot of transaction level I'm sorry, there's a lot of transaction level detail, to, walk through, that essentially makes up that line item, and, I do not have the transaction level detail with me. It would be a lot of data to go through.
I believe it's inappropriate to talk to our staff in a manner of calling them unprepared when you're asking for something that is at that level of detail.
Who we talking to? Who are you talking to? Who is he talking to?
I'm talking to you, Mr. Mobley. I think you were disrespectful to our employee just now. And I appreciate it if you stopped.
We'll move right along.
Yeah, let's move right along.
Any other questions on the budget? I have a question, on the general fund, how much money did we actually receive from county council at the beginning of our fiscal year?
We just recently received a,
Ryan, if you don't mind, I'd like to interject.
Sure.
The way that it happens, Commissioner Lindsay, is that the county breaks the checks up into 3, sometimes 2 payments.
Right,
So an initial payment was a little bit over $6 million.
I have the figures.
Thank you.
I can,
Okay.
sure, the initial, property tax revenue that we received was $2.28 million. We, just received a, deposit, a deposit today of, $5.36 million. And, there will be another deposit. We were approved for, I can flip over. Approximately a little over $16 million.
Okay, and the first payment was what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it right. 2 point what million?
It was approximately 2.2 million.
Okay. And when did that come? When was that received?
That was received. That was received at the, around the beginning of the fiscal year.
What month?
And
Was that July?
if you bear with me, I'll to minimize so I can pull that up.
Okay.
Donzetta,
Yes.
what's the importance of like exactly when we get it? I'm not trying to be combative, I don't understand the,
I want to know the dates that we received them. The
But
first
why?
and the second payment for my information, or for the report information.
You don't have to ask her why she asking questions.
I don't understand though.
We talking money, this is money.
Yeah, I know.
All right, thank you.
We can do that in executive session. You don't need to do this.
Lord help me.
It looks like the bulk of that was received in December.
The 2.2 million or the 5.36 million?
The 2.2, the 5.6 was actually just received today.
Okay. January. And the 16 million,
Is what we were approved for this fiscal year.
okay, so we didn't get the money until December, the first payment. And I'm trying to figure out why we 4 million over $4 million in debt. That's why I need the dates of the first and second payment.
Sure. The first payment is not, I'm sorry, the most recent payment, came in January. The figures that you're looking at are through, the end of December. So the 5.6 million would not be reflected. It looks like we're actually in a deficit position because we received the bulk of our tax revenue after the new calendar year begins.
Okay, and the capital improvement expenses incurred when?
Those were incurred at the beginning of the fiscal year. The bulk were incurred July and August of this fiscal year.
Okay.
Of what you currently see that have been included in the revenue expenditure report.
Okay, did anybody else have any questions?
I guess my question is, that close to 4.1 million, and the money that we received, is that going for this fiscal year? Does it take us out of the red for this fiscal year, and it's not accountable for last fiscal year? Because if it's ended in December the 31st, and we're going into a new year, does that alleviate this? And at the end of this calendar year here, will we still be sitting at possibly being in the red in the same condition that we are now?
Our fiscal year runs through June 30th.
Okay.
So the deposit that we received today will be applied to that current deficit of $4 million, and we will receive additional property tax revenue. Again, we've been approved up to it's approximately $16 million, and the projections that we put together for through the end of the fiscal year, it does look like we will end the year in a surplus position. So our total revenues will exceed our total expenses.
So our fiscal year is July. Okay.
Yeah, our fiscal year runs from July 1 through June 30. It's not a calendar year, fiscal year.
Commissioner Anderson, one of the key points that he said is that the county's collecting all the property tax money like right now, and it comes in over the next couple weeks. So then our funding picks up after they've received it. So generally, there is a slow period of them giving us our checks in certain times of the year. And I don't know exactly when it is, but I do know that generally we see a pretty good uptick of our money coming in March and April and May, once they've collected property tax from the citizens.
That's correct. And if you look at the prior fiscal year information through December, you can see that we had a very similar deficit position, going into the month of January. But again, we receive the majority of our property tax revenue in the last half of the fiscal year. So between the beginning of January and the end of June.
I have a question, Ryan. My question is, I just want to make sure I understand. What we have budgeted is an excess $17.8 million, but you mentioned the allotment, from the county is 16. The difference in that, have we accounted for that, or is that in previous documentation that you shared with me?
It is, and it's captured in the budget figures that I've provided on revenue and expenditure report. It's program revenue. That's where the difference lies between the total projected revenue and essentially what we receive in property tax revenue.
Now, the total projected revenue, program revenue, we budgeted $1.2 million. Am I correct?
That is correct.
All right, and so do we anticipate a decrease in that given COVID, and are we planning to adjust spending if that program revenue does not produce the 1.2?
We do anticipate that we will hit the target. With that said, of course, we will continue to monitor our program revenue generation, from now through the end of the fiscal year. And of course, if it appears that we will not hit our targets, we can adjust our expenditures so that we do not exceed our revenue that's generated in the fiscal year.
If that's the case, Ryan, where would I see those numbers decrease? What line? Would it be program expenses? Where do you, if you had to
Yeah, essentially, if we, it would be likely program expenditures. For instance, last year, when we had a decrease in program revenue due to COVID, we did see a corresponding decrease to the program expenditures for that same period. We also saw a decrease in personnel expenditures that were related to offering those programs.
Thank you.
These are great questions. Are there any additional questions before I move on to the enterprise fund?
You can move on.
Thank you. Enterprise fund revenues for the current period were $521,000 compared to $498,000 this time last year. Represents approximately 4.6% increase from this time last year, or $23,000 increase. Food and beverage and merchandise sales were one of the largest drivers of this increase, as well as membership and program revenue. And for enterprise fund expenditures, our total expenditures for this period were $504,000 compared to $438,000 around this time last year. Represents approximately 15.1% increase, or $66,100 increase. And the largest driver for that increase was capital outlay expenditures. We did do some work out at Linrick, and I believe that relates to the work that was done on the bunkers. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, I have a question. Ryan, can you help me understand non-operational expenses?
Yes, I can pull up a breakdown. Those are largely just the cost of our inventory. So that would be general ledger account 6600 cost of inventory. That came in at roughly $18,000. This point in time, compared to last year, we were coming in right around $13,000. So roughly a $5,000 increase.
I'm sorry, I still don't understand the cost of inventory.
Yeah, that's, that would essentially be like our cost of goods sold.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ryan, and, we'd still like to get that information that you said you would get to us. You can send an email.
Sure thing, I will put that together this week. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any unfinished business? Any unfinished business? Okay, we have a request for Eastover Barbecue Festival. Is anyone here on behalf of that to speak about that?
Attached in your packet is the letter from the mayor of Eastover. Jamie, would you like to come forward and present this information? In addition, I think that we have members of the team online that are online at this time. And we also have Ira Thomas, our District 4 supervisor who oversees the Lower Richmond area, who has a relationship and works closely with the community. And Jamie will present the request to you now.
All right, thank you.
We have been, good evening, Madam Chair, as well as to the rest of the board. We have been working to strengthen our partnership with the Eastover town because we've seen some limited participation. And so we've been trying to increase that participation over the last couple of years. In increasing that participation, the mayor requested that this festival has been in several different locations, and he would love to bring a part of that festival back to the park. And so there are park rules that are listed that says no alcoholic beverages. There are park rules at all 14 of our sites. Currently, in our facility use agreement, in Exhibit B, alcohol is limited to our community centers as well as our adult activity centers. And then finally, in our facility code of conduct, a number 2 misdemeanor or a way that you can be suspended from our parks is to be intoxicated. And so that is why the board is being presented with this, because we do currently have rules and some limitations of where alcohol is presented at our parks. Now, our community centers and our adult activity centers do have alcohol for special events, but they are with security. And so Ira Thomas, he is the District 4 supervisor. He has been working with the Eastover. Yes, sir.
Who provides the security?
RC provides the security, but the patron actually pays for it. Yeah, so we have a security company that we have on contract now. Yes, sir. So Ira Thomas is our district supervisor for District 4. And then we also have Mr. Joseph Keat, who is with us, who is the site supervisor at Eastover Park. We've also given an invitation to the clerk of Eastover as well as the assistant clerk in case there are some specific questions that you have about the festival that we are not familiar with. I will tell you that the agency was on a float for the festival on Saturday, and they are requesting to use the facility on a Friday for a concert.
What kind of concert are they having?
I am not sure of the genre of music. I just can look at some of the past flyers that I have seen, and I'm not sure if they have secured the acts that will be performing on that.
Okay, the concerts can be outside or inside?
Outside.
Okay, one other question, with the COVID out now, what do you think, the possibility of having this festival with COVID? You expect them approximately, I know it's always a lot of people, so how are you gonna control that?
When's the festival again? May
It's in May.
6th?
It's May 6th.
We'll see if the Eastover clerk is on the line. They're not on the line? Okay. That would be, a question that we would have to get them to answer.
Madam Chair, I have a question. Jamie, you're earlier in the presentation, you talked about the existing RCRC rules and regulations that we have that govern us. So if we were to grant this request to have this festival, what rules will we be breaking that we already have in place?
Again, we do have the signage that says no alcoholic beverages at the park. And then again, our facility use agreement states that alcohol is limited to the community centers and the adult activity centers. Now, we've researched, we have not seen a policy specific to alcohol use, but those are the items that we were able to find.
So can we make the general rule then, no alcohol allowed?
That is the action that would come from the board.
So,
That's what I would prefer.
Madam Chair, can I ask you a question? So, they're asking to have alcohol at the function,
That is correct.
and then I guess is there somebody to explain to me, to us, exactly the way this festival be set up related to alcohol, security?
Yes,
Like Ms. Lindsay's talking about with COVID, is there like a drop dead date? If they do alcohol, are they gonna give us proper insurance that we deem necessary from our legal staff to cover us and the citizens of Richland County? Should there be some incident that takes place? Yada, yada, those kind of questions I've got.
yes, those are the questions that would come from the town of Eastover.
Madam Chair, my thought initially is that we review our policy with our attorney to decide whether or not we want to amend any policy that would then allow us to agree to these sorts of festivals. If we start this, then we will not be able to say no to any other person who comes behind asking us to break the rules that we already have in place. So what I would like to suggest to the board is that we review our policy that we have and the signage that we have and determine is that feasible at this point. When did we last look at that policy? And to see if we can amend it so that it could potentially include events like this. I am hesitant to move forward and say yes to the town of Eastover and then break the policy that we have currently in place and not have a plan for any subsequent requests that come afterwards. That's just my opinion.
I think that's a really good point, Brittany. I also think that we could look at it as, from the standpoint of a one-time waiver. But I think you make a really good point that it could open us up to more and we need to review the policy. But I will be interested in a one-time waiver as well.
Madam Chair, I'm pretty much familiar with the town of Eastover. And I say we proceed with caution because of the history that they have with Eastover as far as the parades and the activity that go outside when the parade and stuff is over with. They have a pretty bad history of violence that's in that town. So we need to really need to proceed with caution when it comes to especially allowing any form of alcohol. You're not gonna stop the alcohol. Let's just be straightforward with that. Because they can drink alcohol before they get to the facility. So you still have to proceed with caution. Because given where the facility is at and the strip leading down to it, which is where all the parades and stuff take place, and the activities that I know personally, that when I go down there, I'm out of the town before dark. Because of the violent nature that goes along with the town, we have to proceed with caution. I mean, I'm all for allowing them to, you know, because it'll be a good community access. So we're trying to get the community involved. But I say we really need to sit down with the town and see what kind of security they're going to provide, what will be available, you know, for this festival, because it's, I can give you with all certainty, it's going to get a little rowdy.
So Madam Chair, what is your wish for us? What is the direction of the board to staff so that we know what to go back to Eastover and say or do? What is your wish?
Madam Chair, I have one request before we, I'm sorry. I noticed that we have, you said Ira Thomas and Joseph Key, are they here?
Yes,
These two gentlemen right here?
yes.
Before, you know, you've heard our concerns, is it okay to ask them what their thoughts? Certainly you are working in those areas and have, first-hand information more so than I do, so would you like to share anything with us?
Yes, that way you can be heard on the Zoom as well.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I piggyback off of Board Member Anderson, and if I feel as though if the town of Eastover can present a security plan, control plan, then, you know, I think it's something that we can look at, but if not, then I don't think it's a good idea. But I agree with him.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Or maybe Jamie knows, or you do, Ira. When does the decision on this have to be made? I mean, do we have time to?
They didn't give us a final time. I do know the festival is coming up in May, but they have not given us a time. But I will say, they allow us to be on their agenda for their town council meeting, so, and they are open for meetings and discussion. But we do not have a deadline.
One thing I do know is that they do work pretty closely with Sheriff Lott in Richmond County. That much I do know. But even with that, even with the presence of the law enforcement, you still gonna have those few people that's gonna think that they can get away with it. So, I mean, I really want this to happen, because I think it'd be good for the community, because that is one of the toughest areas to get people to come into. But my family's originally from Eastover, South Carolina, and there's not a whole lot there. But if we can find a way to work with the town to make this happen so that our policies are not violated, and it can be a safe little barbecue festival, I think we proceed. But like I said, we have to have some kind of plan has to come in place to protect the citizens.
Did they have this festival at Eastover last year?
No, ma'am, they had it in, I'm sorry. No, ma'am, they had it in the Gadsden community.
Okay, so
Yes.
they're moving it to Eastover this year.
Well, they were requesting
Right.
to move it to Eastover.
So they're only requesting to use the outside of the facility for this concert, correct?
Yes, and only for Friday.
Okay.
Would it be wise to table this discussion for now to, like Commissioner Anderson said, to get a complete plan that commissioners could feel good about, or at least let them present a safety plan?
We're not gonna make a decision tonight, that's for sure.
Well, that's what I s-
Right.
yeah, well,
So I recommend that the committee, that over these events, if they would contact, like I said, I have a concern about COVID. How would they set it up for COVID? And also how they would control the alcohol use, which we would not allow alcohol use. So we'll get back with them and give them a decision later, at a later date.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, then you can and hours to get together and do a report for next meeting. That's in February, that should be
Okay.
enough time for them to.
Okay. Thank you.
So maybe, at our next meeting in February, we can have it with business.
We'll put it under unfinished business.
Okay, we'll have, executive director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before you and the members of the board is the executive director's report. It includes project updates. I'll start off with this first project. Is in,
Yes, ma'am, it was,
I have so many papers up here, hold on.
I got it, thank you.
Okay, proceed.
The first project update is the Chatwoods pedestrian connector. This connector will be a 10-wide concrete path connecting the Chatsworth Road to Brookfield Drive, which was proposed as part of the Decker Boulevard Woodfield Park Master Plan, which was adopted by Richland County in spring of 2007. I have attached for your information a graphic that shows the actual connector. This connector will be constructed along with the new sidewalk on the north side of Brookfield Road. Currently, there is already a trail through the woods at this location where students are walking to school. We, as a commission, received the property that is there back in 2020 and we've been working with the county to identify an opportunity for a maintenance agreement. So what you have before you is an overview, an update. I think that, is there someone from the county, did she sign on? Allison, the Director of Public Works. So we do have someone from the county that oversees the project. If you have any specific questions, I know this is your first time seeing it. We are working with the legal department to develop a maintenance agreement for your review and approval, but the county is on the call. Allison?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you introduce yourself to the board and share with them your role and your interest in this project, please?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Allison Steele, the Assistant Director at the Penny Transportation Department. This project has been, it's part of a larger master plan, like Director Watson mentioned earlier. The section that we are trying to connect Chatsworth to Brookfield, it is going to be constructed along with the Brookfield sidewalk that will go from Decker Boulevard up to Richland Northeast High School. Along with that project, we are going to do some intersection improvements along Decker to improve pedestrian access at several intersections, including ADA, ramp installations, pedestrian push buttons at the crosswalks, things like that. So overall, we're trying to make a safe environment for students to travel to that school.
Thank you, Allison. We've
You're welcome.
looked at the operating budget impact. We feel that the annual financial impact should not go over $15,000, which would include our current staff. We don't foresee adding any additional staff. This $15,000 would be a part of the current staff as well as any supplies or equipment that we would need. I will bring the report as well as the agreement back to the February board meeting for the board to review.
Can I ask you a question? Does that include, I might miss what Allison said, but safety buttons to push, should there be a problem along the route and that kind of, or telephones?
Allison, can you speak specifically to those safety measures that we just had the question about?
Sure, I apologize if I weren't clear. The push buttons and safety features will be at several intersections along Decker Boulevard. I was just giving you an overview of the overall project that this will be installed as part of. Along the pedestrian connector, it would not need, we will be installing a crosswalk across Brookfield. So we will have appropriate safety measures for that crosswalk to ensure students are safe if they're crossing the street. But we are not planning to install any sort of signal in that area that they would need push buttons.
I think I'm referring to if there's an emergency, is there like I see on many pedestrian parks, you can call if there's a problem. Will there be any of that? Or is this just you're saying that you did say the intersections, you can push a button to get it to turn red or green, I guess, but should there be a problem, I'm looking at this picture here of the park, and it goes to a wooded area, should there be a problem, is there a button they can push somewhere, or is it just they gotta run, or whatever?
Sure. The proposed project is just the sidewalk itself and the shared use path, but we can definitely look at the cost of push buttons and see if we have it in our budget to install it if the commission is willing to take over maintenance. What we do propose with our current project is, unfortunately, we do not have funding to install any sort of lighting along the shared use path that kind of goes against the county's current ordinance. But we are going to be installing conduit, for Dominion Energy. So at a future date, if the commission has the funding and would like to install lighting, the conduit would already be in place for you guys to install that. And the push button, it may have to be tied into and considered as street lighting. So I'm not sure that it would qualify, but that's definitely something I could look into and get back to you guys.
And for fellow commissioners, just over the last 3.5, 4 years since I've been on the board, it's something that I've talked to Ms. Watson in depth about, because one of the reasons I got on the board was for paths and exact projects like this, but I think Mrs. Watson can speak maybe to it later or whatever, but just if we're gonna take over these trails and paths down the road, number one, do we have the financial wherewithal to do it? But two, are we creating a safe environment on these paths for our citizens? That's what I'm concerned about. So,
Did we purchase this property or Richard Two gave it to us?
I think that,
It was given to us.
yeah.
And this might be for Allison or Ms. Watson. Is there any opportunity to partner with the sheriff's department in terms of cameras or lighting and/or lighting? I mean, I'm thinking of call boxes
Yeah,
or
that's
something
what I
like
was-
that. Is there an opportunity?
That's kind of what I meant, call boxes.
Yeah, is there an opportunity to partner? We reached out to them as a possible partner. Obviously, Richland School District 2 is invested, but what about the sheriff's department?
That's a good point.
From a funding perspective, no ma'am, I have not approached them from that perspective.
And I think that's Richland too. I think that's Richland County Sheriff's Department. I don't think that's Forest Acres. Does anybody know that for a fact? Forest Acres has some weird lines.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's some weird lines over there.
It's weird, so it might not even be, I don't know.
I'll follow up.
Thank you.
Who's gonna maintain, we supposed to maintain keeping the grass cut?
That is the request that's being made by the county for the commission as the arm for recreation to actually maintain this connector.
And we have to pay for it out of our budget, right?
The maintenance, yes ma'am.
So who's paying for it now? They don't have one, is that?
Currently, it's not open. They're doing the construction.
Why the county can't do it?
Well, when the project started, the property was under the ownership of the school system, and the school system had not identified any new projects or activities. We received the property in 2020 with the intent for developing it for recreation for that community. So when the county saw that we as a commission received the property, they came to us from a natural connection standpoint as the Parks and Recreation District to ask if we would partner with them to actually maintain this connector. So what we're currently working on now is an agreement that will come to the board for your review and your approval that would lay out what that maintenance agreement would include.
Why do they want us to partner with them?
Because they are the county, and the county has done this project as an opportunity to create a safe passage for the students that attend that school, and they feel that we would be the best group to maintain that facility.
And if something happens to one of the children, we're gonna be one to blame for it
That's right.
and be liable for it, right?
So those are the discussions that, this is just the first introduction, so if any additional questions, as it relates to liability, what would occur after the project is constructed, it will be transferred over to the commission.
So, I have a question. So I understand that Richland School District 2, gave us this property and now we're being asked to potentially manage it. But my question is, I guess we'll have a follow-up.
Yes.
From, after you've had an opportunity to talk to the invested parties,
Yes.
bring it together. Okay.
And any
Okay,
additional questions, and this is why this is your first time
Right.
seeing it, so that you can ask any questions and I can go get those answers before I bring the agreement to you for approval.
Is there not an opportunity in terms of the penny tax? I don't know Allison's still on the line. They have provided the funding for the actual creation and building of this particular connector. Is it gonna be covered or is it just like a concrete walkway?
Allison, can you respond?
Sure. So right now, it's just a completely wooded lot. What we would do is we would clear approximately 25 to 30 feet, and it would just be an open, basically a really wide sidewalk, what we call a shared view path. It would not be covered.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I think we need to table this for tonight and discuss it at a later time. Because it's hard to discuss something you've never seen before.
Allison still on there? She's still on there?
Yes,
Yes,
You Allison?
she's still on.
she's still
Oh, she's still on?
Yes.
Do Mr. Two still own the old, building on Brookfield? Where the meetings used to be?
I am not sure about that. I could look that up for you if you had an address.
Yes.
Thank you, Allison, I'll reach out to you tomorrow so we can do some follow-up.
Could I make one more statement regarding funding if the commission would not be willing to take over? I did come from Public Works, and if you're looking at the county to maintain the connector, it would most likely fall to Public Works, and I'm not sure if their funding is allowable to maintain something that is not along their roadway or their drainage related to roadways. So that could be an issue that I would have to check with Public Works and or our legal department to see who could fund it.
Okay, my concern is with it being a wooded lot. I mean, it's just pretty risky if something happens to someone,
That's why Richland Two gave it to us.
then we'll be held responsible. So for right now, we're gonna table it until we do more research on it.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Allison. The next project update in my report is the Friarsgate Athletic Complex. This project included new fencing, irrigation, and ADA accessibility for the entire site. This project was partially funded by the state PARD funding. Weather has impacted the construction of the sidewalks. However, the project is on target for completion prior to the season opener. Lyric Golf Course, the bunkers that you all approved are currently being repaired. They're 60% for project completion. The Richland County Tennis Center, the concrete work is completed. Fencing has been installed as they received the fencing from the vendor, and the resurfacing has begun. Earlier this year, yes, sir.
Go back to Friarsgate.
Yes, sir.
This is the athletic complex, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're doing new fencing, irrigation for the entire site.
ADA accessibility for the entire site. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
what else was put there before y'all start doing this? What else was put up there?
I can't speak to the previous projects. I know that the site itself sits in a bowl. So a lot of drainage issues that I experienced when I first got here, as well as not having any accessibility throughout the site. So if you were there in a wheelchair, you could not get safely from the parking lot to the fields or to the concession stand. So this project will create the sidewalk connections needed for individuals that have special accommodations to be able to utilize it.
Where's the dog park?
In Irmo.
That's an Irmo? I gotta go take a look at that. I can't speak on that, because I gotta take a look at it.
I'd like to know the, price of the Bryce Gate Athletic Complex. What's the cost of,
I'll provide you with the grant that we received. It was a little over $340,000, and then we had a match. But I can provide that as a part of your project update, and actually with the report that you requested from Ryan, it would include this project.
right, okay, that's good.
Ms. Watson, as a follow-up to Friars Gate, I'm not sure about anything, some of the stuff that you're doing other than the ADA accessibility. I just want to remind, I shouldn't remind because you guys wouldn't know, but we did have a study done of our parks 3 years, that we received it 3 years ago, and there was some bonds set aside for us to spend to fix our parks up. And one of the big issues that we had with our parks that we really got dinged from whoever did it, said that the ADA accessibility in a lot of our parks was a big deal. And so we had set money aside to do that. I think that this is coming in a different way, but it's something just to pay attention to down the road as we look at our parks, that a lot of them did have ADA issues. I'm sure there's still other parks that have that.
And
We
then,
did that on, Polo Road, didn't
The big wide, that wasn't us, that was the county. Not that big wide path.
Yeah.
I think that was part of that penny tax too. But it doesn't have those call boxes on it, just so you know.
Earlier this year, we did embark upon a feasibility study for aquatics. You will receive a copy of that study. It has been completed. Community Connections, I met with Allen University Student Activities Director, the interim director, Karen Smith, so we can start developing a partnership for volunteerism and community service projects through student activities. And we have information here regarding the Richland County Recreation Foundation, our latest task that we have been completing as we're preparing for this current year. And you'll see within your packet the balance sheet summary. Our upcoming event, our annual Jazz Festival, is scheduled for Saturday, August 23rd from 6 to 10. And the early bird tickets are $15, general admission $25, VIP $75, and the tickets are available on Eventbrite. Lastly, you have,
excuse me.
yes,
The annual Jazz Festival, where is it gonna be?
I'm sorry, North Springs Park. This is an FYI, a save the date, but you will receive formal information at your next meeting. And lastly, you have before you with a nice little sweet potato on the top of it is a request from the Sweet Potato Committee. I don't need for an approval to occur because there aren't any policy or rules issues. However, the community of Hopkins would like to make sure that the board is aware of the Sweet Potato Festival. And I wanted to provide you with what it is that we provide, and my staff and I are prepared to provide the same things that we did in 2020 for this festival. And that concludes the executive director's report.
Okay, on the Sweet Potato Festival, I still have issues with these large groups for COVID, so we need to make sure we, go by the COVID rules on these, because they might have to be canceled to me with the numbers going so high.
So would you like for me to have the committee to submit to us for your review, what their crowd control or their logistical plan is as it relates to COVID?
Well, we just need to know if COVID, if CDC doesn't recommend having big events for COVID, we're gonna have to cancel them. I just wanna let, anybody who knows, everybody should know that. And Little Rich and I have this issue, and I bring it up every year. We need one way in and one way out. It's still just one way in and one way out. And to me, that's a major problem, because if a firecrackers, anything go off, people get stampeded and hurt because they can't get out of it. We need to do some kind of arrangement to be one way in and one way out, make a driveway somewhere on the opposite side or in the middle of the property or wherever.
Didn't we do something to help alleviate that
No,
2 years ago?
no, it came up 2 years ago.
I thought we did.
We did.
What did
We
do?
went and made a deal with the neighbor to get access to get out or something like that.
Yes, we did.
We
Did it happen? Cause I never heard it.
We
No, but no,
actually-
you're right, it was a problem, but then you and he
Well, when
addressed
I
it.
went down there, was still potholes.
There was,
Nothing to do with the extra exit.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
there was access to the, when you enter the, property, it would be on the right-hand side because there was an issue with the ambulance being able to get in and out in case there was an issue. So they were not able to use the main driveway. And we also used our buses to actually bus people to and from. And so there was a pathway that was able to be made to the right area of the park. So they did not use that main driveway for the bus shuttle as well as the ambulance.
The bus shuttle let people off in front of the park, did they not?
To my knowledge, it was just near the baseball field where they were letting people off. And we didn't have it last year, so I would have to go back and check what those plans are, but to my, yeah.
That's really a safety concern, and the potholes need to be fixed too. They're pretty deep last time I was down there. Any other questions on anything? So do we have to give them an answer about the Superintendent Festival?
I was providing this to the board for information. It did not require a board vote unless the board wanted to have a vote for support. The department, or excuse me, our agency does have the means to support the festival as requested without any additional funds needed or any additional changes to our scheduling. Because that letter did come from the community, it was important for me to share this with you so that you are aware of the support that the commission usually does provide. But prior to the event, I'll make sure that we meet with the team that puts this on so that we can discuss safety plans, COVID regulations, and moving forward for the event.
And I believe they provide their own security as well, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yes, that's what I thought, that was another concern. That complete your report?
Yes, it does.
Okay, how about Jamie? Did she have anything?
Good evening again, Madam Chair, and to the rest of the board. Of course, I'm here to highlight some of the great events that have happened in our agency since the last time we had our regular board meeting. I'm going to share my screen. It's just taking a minute for it to come up. One of the events that happened just after our board meeting was the Isn't It Grand, which was a event that was new to our agency, which included our active adult seniors along with their grandchildren at the Bluff Road Park. And at this event, you'll see that we had at about 46 participants, as the participation was limited due to COVID, and it was well attended, and Santa was there, and so the participants were quite happy with this first time event. In the Blythewood Park, there was a women's self-defense class, and that was quite well attended. There were 19 participants, and this event was held along with Nina Malden of the Richland County Sheriff's Department. And so everyone learned great, and there was very positive feedback from this program. The Gadsden Tree Lighting Celebration had approximately 200 participants. This is an annual event, and they gave out 200 Christmas bags. This event is with the Gadsden Community Homeowners Association, along with our Recreation Enrichment Committee, as well as the community. So it's always a very well attended, and the citizens there just put forth a great effort for this event. One event that I did miss was the Hopkins Celebration Drive-Thru at the Hopkins AC. This event, you'll see the list of volunteers, the picture of the volunteers that were there. Cars began lining up at 9:30, and they were working through the cold and the rain. And so the Hopkins community volunteers were there, as well as our newly formed Recreation Enrichment Committee. And again, the county sheriff's department, and they gave out several bags, and so you'll see the participants that were driving up. Our Rec to Go event has been signature throughout COVID, and we have been working with the Crane Forest community. There have been some things in the park that we have been talking about throughout their community meetings, and one of the issues that they brought up is that there were not as many activities in that area. And so our Rec to Go event has now transitioned to the winter, and we know toys are important to children, but we also know that school supplies are as well. So at this event, the children were able to get additional school supplies for when they go back to school in January. And also we partnered with Richland County Knowledge is Power Coalition as they were giving out clothing. We were also giving out those backpacks, as well as there were a few toys and recreation equipment in those bags as well for them to enjoy during the holiday season. At the Bluff Road Park again, we had the Winter Blast Carnival. There were about 15 participants there, but the children were able to enjoy snacks and crafts and presents, and Santa delivered those presents and also visited the volleyball rental that was there as well. So that was a very well attended event, being that it was the first time held at this park. Crossroads Community Center has been limited to their activities. However, they did want the opportunity, the community there did want to provide an opportunity to fellowship. And so there was the holiday brunch drive-through, which was held, and there were about 60 participants there. Staff members Ira Thomas, Tiana Henley, and Ashley Adams and Valencia Franks were there to make sure that the citizens received their holiday brunch. And it was a drive-through event. Online, we had a social engagement with Christmas Story Time with RC the Elf and Friends. So this was a social media campaign where our staff members read books to the community and to the children, and we're very excited because we had over 2,300 people to engage in this project, with over 180 viewers who watched more than 15 seconds of the stories, and they are still online. And as we were looking at this social media campaign, we were able to see that for last year, we did a Black History Month read-along. However, as we became closer to Martin Luther King birthday, we found that the book that was read in relation to Martin Luther King actually picked up some engagement, and so we had an additional 2,500 people that were engaged in that presentation as well. Our game plan is online, and for our commissioners, you do have a printed booklet of the upcoming events that are coming. So if you go to our website at www.richlandcountyrecreation.com, and under the About Us section, you will see the electronic version of our game plan, which lists our activities from January to April of 2022. And finally, if you have not started following us on social media, please make sure that you follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. That concludes my presentation for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one issue. You didn't mention the 3 upcoming events with the Sheriff Department, basketball, and the teen event.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize. My presentation is usually the events that have happened since the last meeting, but yes, they are forthcoming. We do have the Coops Fest that will be this weekend, that is going to be held at the Eastover Park, and I do believe those games start at 4 o'clock. There are men's games as well as women's games, and there will be activities. 1 o'clock, I apologize. I'm sorry, Ira has been working hard to put that program together. And so that will be this weekend at the Eastover Park. Also, there is a luncheon that is going to be held on February 2nd with Sheriff Lott, and we are coming together to talk about ways that we can fight crime and what we can do as a commission to work with the county, Sheriff's Department, and the other localities as well, so that we can meet. Of course, that event is limited just due to COVID, and also it will be held in this building. Normally, we would have our dining hall, but there is a large class that's going to be in there, so we've limited to this space here in the boardroom. And the Nighthawk event took place this past Friday. We've been rotating that program throughout the county. We've had our greatest participation at the Blythewood Park. It was this weekend at the Denny Terrace Gym. Our participation was not as great, but we are going to continue to rotate that program. And what that consists of is that we have our normal hours where there's free play gym, but we extend the hours to come out and have speakers that speak, as well as they have different games and things that they play to engage the teenagers to come out and be a part of our park system, even though it may be beyond our regular normal operating hours.
Thank you.
That's a presentation.
I'm sorry?
That's a presentation.
Thank you very much, Jamie, it's great.
That's a good presentation. Yeah, I like the way she do what she does.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
I have one question. In your report, I asked that a COVID report be done.
Yes, there should be a COVID report attached to my report. If you did not receive it, it should be at the back, that last page. Sorry, that's the agenda. My report is different. This is my report.
Here it is.
Oh, the one with the positive and the isolation.
Yes. The COVID-19 week of January 16th.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Right there. It's on this one. Yeah, it's on that. Got it?
The last sheet.
That's it.
You have, I want the numbers.
This
You
is
just have the
one-
places.
I'm sorry, this is one per person, am I correct? This is one individual. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but I'll have her do the totals for the next report.
Okay, so we have 10 people that are on this log.
Yes.
So at least, I'm glad you have the dates of exposure so that you monitor when they come back.
Yes.
And I hope we're still encouraging everyone to take the shots and get the booster. Do whatever you can to protect yourself. Anybody have any other questions or concerns before we move on? I'd like to make a motion to go in executive session.
Madam Chair, usually the motion is made by another member and seconded.
I'll make a motion that we move out of this and go into executive session.
Second.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
I don't know if she can talk.
Commissioner Mobley,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Venable.
Yes.
Motion
Yes.
Madam Chairwoman, can, before we just,
Make a motion.
I know, just a second, we're out of executive session.
Right, exactly.
Just like in about 45 seconds to a minute, can you just explain Thursday to everybody and what we're gonna try to accomplish?
No, I would like for you to do this.
Well, no, I talked to Lakita about it, I just
Oh,
wanted her to articulate for me.
The documents that you all have before you is the feasibility study for the sports complex, in addition to the MOU for the project clubhouse. The purpose of Thursday's meeting is to allow the individuals that have been vested in these projects, the stakeholders would like to come before the board. There is no action that's being requested, but would like to present the feasibility study with the recommended sites And then the Woodlands project, we would like to provide you with a recommendation. We do have members from county council that will be participating, who brought this project to us. Vice Chairwoman, Mrs. Jessica Mackey will be participating. Our liaison from the delegation will also be in person, Senator Darrell Jackson. So that concludes an overview of those items that we will be discussing.
I have a question. Why can't we take action on them? Since we'll be here.
I mean, you can take action, ma'am, if you would like for us to revise the agenda to show action,
Yes.
so that when it goes out to the public, so let's make that change.
What is she asking?
She requested if she could have action on those items
Oh,
that we
good.
have presented.
Good.
Yeah.
So then,
Get it done.
and then, yeah, just so you know, the consultant from Buford is coming up, the one that worked on Project Clubhouse.
Yes,
He's-
so both consultants will be here to answer
And
questions that you all
Matt
have.
Christman needs to send him the address.
Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Can we make a motion to adjourn? Nothing important.
I was waiting on you to finish it. Okay, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I make the motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner LaPeen,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
They're not, Miller and Bennett aren't back on here.
Commissioner Mobley,
Yeah.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.